Everything changes when you change. Everything changes when you make that fundamental decision that says, I am going to invest in myself every single day. I am going to read, I am going to study, I am going to grow. That decision alone can revolutionize your future. I was raised in Idaho on a farm. We didn't have much. My father never finished high school. We worked hard, but we struggled financially. And when I was young, I always wondered, why do some people do well while others struggle? That question set me on a path of discovery that changed everything for me. And you know what I found? Success leaves clues. The successful aren't just lucky. They've educated themselves. They've developed themselves. They've invested in themselves. Now, let me share with you something powerful. Education is not just preparation for life. Education is life itself. It doesn't just prepare you for the future. It creates your future day by day. Most people have no idea of the giant capacity we can immediately command when we focus all of our resources on mastering a single area of our lives. You must understand this fundamental truth. To have more, you must become more. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. That's where education comes in. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I met a young man who complained about his salary. He said, I'm not being paid enough. I asked him, how many books on your profession have you read in the last year? He said, none. Why should I? The company doesn't buy them for me. Do you see the problem with that thinking? He was still thinking like an employee, not like someone in charge of his own life and development. I told him, don't expect to be paid for your time, be paid for your value. And if you want more value, you need more education. 6 months later, after he started reading a book a week on his profession, his income started to climb. Within 2 years, it had doubled. The company didn't change, he did. You see, formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. The books you don't read won't help. It's as simple as that. Some people say, well, yeah, but books cost money. And I say, yes, ignorance costs more. Now listen to this carefully. The difference between where you are today and where you'll be 5 years from now will come down to two things. The people you meet and the books you read, that's it. The information you let into your mind and the relationships you nurture will determine your future. And here's something else that's fascinating. You can learn from anybody. Successful people learn from everyone. Unsuccessful people learn from no one. You must be teachable. The moment you stop being teachable, you stop growing. And the moment you stop growing, you start dying. I had a mentor once who changed my life, Mr. Shoaff. He said, Jim, if you want to be wealthy and happy, learn this lesson well. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. At first, I didn't understand that. I was working hard at my job. But then it hit me, your job and your income are extensions of you. When you grow, everything around you grows too. So I started a discipline that transformed my life. I began to invest at least 30 minutes every day in myself, reading, listening, learning, growing. And you know what happened? My whole life began to change. I started to attract better opportunities. I started to solve problems more effectively. I started to see possibilities I never noticed before. It's like this: if you work on your job, you make a living. If you work on yourself, you make a fortune. It's one of the greatest discoveries I ever made. Now, let me tell you about another important aspect of education, learning from failure. Most people avoid failure like the plague, but failure is just education. It's just a way to learn what doesn't work so you can find what does work. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before he invented the light bulb. When asked about it, he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work. What a perspective. If you're not failing occasionally, you're not trying enough new things. You're playing it too safe. And playing it safe is the riskiest thing you can do in today's world. The person who doesn't read is no better off than the person who can't read. Both are equally ignorant. Let me ask you, what's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Today. The same is true for education. The best time to start educating yourself was years ago. The second best time is right now, today, this moment. You know what's interesting? Most people spend more time planning their vacation than planning their education. Isn't that amazing? They'll spend weeks figuring out where to go, what to do, what to pack, but they won't spend 10 minutes planning what books they'll read, what seminars they'll attend, how they'll grow their mind. And then they wonder why life isn't working out. Well, I'll tell you why. You haven't learned enough yet to make it work out. Here's another powerful idea. Turn your car into a university on wheels. The average American spends 500 to 1,000 hours per year in their car. That's equivalent to 12 to 25 40-hour weeks. Imagine if you used that time to listen to educational audio programs. You could earn the equivalent of a Ph.D. in your field within just a few years while you drive. I've known people who completely transformed their income and their lives using this one strategy alone. Instead of listening to the same news or music day after day, they invested that time in learning, growing, expanding their minds, and the results were dramatic. You see, you can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction. And your direction determines your destination. Small, consistent changes in your daily education habits can create massive changes in your life over time. Let me share with you 3 kinds of education you need to win in life. First, there's formal education. That's important. Get all you can, but don't stop there. Because the moment you graduate from college, your formal education is already starting to become obsolete. In today's world, information doubles every few years. What you learned in school won't carry you through life anymore. Second, there's professional education. This is the knowledge specific to your field or industry. You should be the most knowledgeable person in your company about your job. Read the trade journals. Attend the seminars. Talk to the experts. Become a master at what you do. But the third type of education, and this is the one most people completely miss, is self-development education. This is learning about communication, psychology, leadership, success principles, spirituality, health, finances, relationships, parenting, and more. It's about becoming a whole, complete human being, not just a good technician. You know what's fascinating? The average person spends thousands of hours becoming good at their profession, but almost no time learning how to communicate effectively, manage their finances, raise their children, or build meaningful relationships. And then they wonder why their life seems out of balance. Here's something else to consider. The books you read and the tapes you listen to are part of your mental diet. Just as you would never dream of going 30 days without physical food, don't go 30 days without mental food. Your mind needs nourishment just like your body does. And just like with physical food, you have to be careful what you feed your mind. Garbage in, garbage out. If you fill your mind with trash, with violence, negativity, and cynicism, don't be surprised when your thoughts and your life reflect that. But fill your mind with wisdom, inspiration, and knowledge, and watch what happens to the quality of your thinking and your life. Some people say, well, I don't have time to read. Really, the average American watches television 4 hours a day. 4 hours. That's 1,460 hours per year. In 5 years, that's 7,300 hours. Do you know how many books you could read in 7,300 hours? Hundreds. You could become an expert in multiple fields in that time. It's not about having time, it's about making time. We all have the same 24 hours. The difference is in how we choose to invest those hours. And I call it an investment because that's exactly what it is. Every minute you spend educating yourself pays dividends for the rest of your life. Here's another powerful idea learned from the best. Why struggle to figure everything out on your own when you can learn from people who have already mastered what you want to do? If you want to be successful in business, study successful business people. If you want a great marriage, study people with great marriages. If you want to be healthy and fit, study people who are healthy and fit. Success leaves clues, but you have to be looking for them. You have to be studying, observing, learning. That's what education is all about. Not just memorizing facts, but understanding principles and patterns that you can apply in your own life. Now, let me share with you a concept that transformed my thinking about education. It's the compound effect. Just like compound interest works with money, compound learning works with knowledge. A little bit of learning every day consistently applied over time creates extraordinary results. Imagine if you read just 10 pages of a good book every day. That's about 15 to 20 minutes of reading. Not much, right? But over a year, that's 3,650 pages, the equivalent of about 12 average-sized books. In 5 years, that's 60 books. In 10 years, 120 books. Do you have any idea how much your life would change if you read 120 good books in your field? You would become one of the most knowledgeable people in your industry. Your value would skyrocket. Your insights would be sought after. Your income would likely multiply several times over. And all from just 15 to 20 minutes a day. That's the power of the compound effect applied to education. But here's the catch. You have to be consistent. Reading one book won't change your life, just like going to the gym once won't make you fit. It's the daily discipline, the daily investment in yourself that creates the transformation over time. And that's where most people fail. They start with enthusiasm. They buy a bunch of books or sign up for courses. but they don't develop the discipline to follow through day after day, week after week, month after month. And so they miss out on the miracle of compound learning. Let me tell you something, discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. The small disciplines of daily education don't feel heavy in the moment. In fact, they're quite light. But the regret of not having developed yourself, of not having grown to your potential, that's a heavy burden to carry through life. And here's something else to consider. Education doesn't just increase your income, it increases your entire life. It makes you a more interesting person. It gives you more to share with others. It helps you find meaning and purpose. It connects you with ideas and people that can transform your existence. I've met a lot of unhappy rich people. Do you know why they're unhappy? Because they focused on making money without educating themselves about life, meaning relationships and fulfillment. They climbed the ladder of success only to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. True education is about developing the whole person, not just your earning capacity, but your capacity for joy, for connection, for contribution, for meaning. Now, let me give you some specific strategies for educating yourself daily. First, decide what you want to learn. Get clear on your goals and what knowledge you need to achieve them. Don't just read randomly. Be strategic. If you want to start a business, read about entrepreneurship. If you want to improve your marriage, read about relationships. Be intentional with your learning. Second, create a daily learning ritual. Maybe it's reading for 30 minutes every morning before work. Maybe it's listening to educational audio programs during your commute. Maybe it's watching instructional videos while you exercise. Whatever it is, make it a non-negotiable part of your day. Third, take notes on what you learn. Don't just consume information, process it. Write down key ideas. Ask yourself, how can I apply this in my life? The magic isn't just in learning, it's in applying what you learn. Fourth, find learning partners. Join a book club. Find a mentor. Create a mastermind group. Learning accelerates when it's shared with others. Their insights enhance yours. Their questions stimulate your thinking. Their accountability keeps you consistent. Fifth, teach what you learn. Nothing solidifies knowledge like teaching it to someone else. Share what you're learning with your family, your friends, your colleagues. Blog about it. Make videos about it. The teacher always learns more than the student. And sixth, review regularly. Don't just learn and forget. Schedule time to review what you've learned. Repetition is the mother of skill. The more you revisit key ideas, the more deeply they become part of your thinking and your life. Now, let me address a concern I sometimes hear. I'm too old to start learning new things. That's ridiculous. You're never too old to learn, to grow, to improve your life. Colonel Sanders was in his 60s when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken. Grandma Moses began painting in her 70s. Ray Kroc was over 50 when he built McDonald's into a global empire. Age is not the issue, attitude is. If you think you're too old to learn, you are. If you think you're never too old to learn, you aren't. It's as simple as that. Another objection I hear is, I wasn't good at school, so education isn't for me. But here's the thing, self-directed learning as an adult is completely different from classroom learning as a child. You're learning what you want to learn at your own pace, in your own way, for your own purposes. It's not about grades or tests, it's about improving your life. Some of the most voracious learners I know did poorly in traditional school settings. But once they discovered the joy of self-directed learning, of pursuing knowledge for its own sake, and for the difference it makes in their lives, they became unstoppable. Remember this, the most dangerous person in business, in politics, in life is the person who thinks they already know it all. The moment you think you've arrived, that you have nothing more to learn, is the moment you begin the slide into obsolescence. The world is changing too fast for anyone to rest on their existing knowledge. What made you successful yesterday won't necessarily make you successful tomorrow. The skills that got you here won't get you there. Continuous education isn't optional anymore. It's essential for survival. But beyond mere survival, education is about thriving, about living a life of expanding possibilities and contributions. Every book you read, every course you take, every conversation you have with someone knowledgeable opens new doors, creates new opportunities, reveals new horizons. You know, I've traveled all over the world speaking to hundreds of thousands of people, and I've observed something fascinating. You can tell a lot about a person's future by looking at their bookshelf. Show me the books you read, and I'll show you where you'll be in 5 years. Some people read nutritional labels more carefully than they select the books they read. They're more concerned about what goes into their stomachs than what goes into their minds. But what you feed your mind is even more important than what you feed your body, because your mind controls everything else in your life. Now let me share something else that's powerful. You don't have to learn everything firsthand. In fact, you can't. Life is too short to make all the mistakes yourself. But you can learn from other people's experiences through books, through courses, through mentors. 1 hour with the right mentor can save you 10 years of struggle. One book can give you an insight that changes the trajectory of your career. One seminar can give you a strategy that doubles your income. That's the leverage of education. I sometimes think about how much my life changed because of a few key books I read in my 20s. If I hadn't read those books, where would I be today? Probably still struggling, still wondering why success seemed to come so easily to others, but not to me. Those books, and the many that followed, didn't just give me information, they gave me transformation. They changed how I thought, how I made decisions, how I viewed problems and opportunities, how I related to others. In short, they changed who I was, and by changing who I was, they changed what was possible for me. That's the real power of education, not just the facts you learn, but the person you become in the process of learning. Let me tell you about something else that's fascinating, the correlation between income and education. Studies consistently show that the more educated you are, the more you earn. But here's what's interesting, this correlation holds true not just for formal education, but for self-education as well. In fact, I've found that self-education often has an even higher return on investment than formal education. Why? Because it's targeted to your specific needs and goals. It's practical, not theoretical. And it continues throughout your lifetime, not just for a few years in your youth. I know people who never finished high school who are millionaires today because they committed themselves to lifelong learning. They read voraciously, they attend seminars, they find mentors, they never stop growing, never stop learning, never stop improving. And their incomes reflect the commitment. But let me be clear about something. Education isn't just about making more money. That's part of it, sure. But it's also about living a fuller, richer, more meaningful life in every way. Education enriches your conversations. It deepens your understanding of the world. It helps you make better decisions. It connects you with ideas and people that expand your horizons. It helps you become a better partner, a better parent, a better friend, a better citizen. In other words, education doesn't just increase your standard of living, it increases your standard of life. And that's what winning in life is really all about. Not just accumulating more stuff, but becoming more as a person, contributing more, experiencing more, understanding more. Let me share with you one of my favorite quotes. It's from Jim Rohn. That's me. I said, if you want to have more, you have to become more. Success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. And how do you become more? Through education, through growth, through development. Now let me address another objection I sometimes hear. I don't have the money to invest in education. Well, let me ask you this, can you afford $1? Because that's about what it costs to check out a book from the library. Can you afford $5? Because that's about what it costs to buy a used book online. Education doesn't have to be expensive. Some of the most valuable books I've ever read cost less than dinner at a fast food restaurant. And the return on investment has been astronomical. But even if we're talking about more significant investments like seminars or courses or coaching, you have to ask yourself, what's the cost of not getting that education? What opportunities will you miss? What mistakes will you make? What growth will you forfeit? When you look at it that way, you realize that you can't afford not to invest in your education. The returns are too great, and the costs of ignorance are too high. Now, there's another aspect of education I want to talk about, the education of experience. Book learning is vital, but it's not enough. You also need to apply what you learn to test it in the laboratory of life, to see what works and what doesn't. Some people are always learning but never doing. They read book after book, attend seminar after seminar, but they never put anything into practice. That's not education, that's entertainment. True education involves action. It involves trying things, making mistakes, adjusting your approach, and trying again. It involves what I call the disciplines of application, taking what you learn and systematically applying it in your daily life. Because here's the truth, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is only potential power. It's the application of knowledge that gives you power. The books you read won't change your life. It's the books you apply that will change your life. So as you commit to educating yourself daily, also commit to applying what you learn. Why just be a consumer of information, be a producer of results. That's where the real transformation happens. Let me give you another powerful idea, the 5-year study program. Imagine if you devoted the next 5 years to becoming an expert in your field, reading everything you can get your hands on, attending every seminar you can afford, finding mentors, practicing your skills, applying what you learn. Where would you be 5 years from now? You would be among the top 5% of people in your field. Your income would likely have doubled or tripled. Your opportunities would have multiplied. Your contribution would have increased exponentially. 5 years is going to pass anyway. The question is, where will you be when those 5 years are over? Will you be essentially the same person with the same knowledge and skills and income? Or will you be transformed because you invested those years in your education and growth? The choice is yours, but the consequences of that choice are immense. They will echo throughout the rest of your life. Now let me share with you something else that's fascinating, the relationship between education and confidence. The more you know, the more confident you become. Not arrogant, but confident, secure in your knowledge and abilities. And confidence is magnetic. It attracts opportunities, relationships, and possibilities. People want to work with confident people. They want to do business with confident people. They're drawn to the energy and certainty that confidence creates. So if you want more confidence, and who doesn't, invest in your education, learn more. Develop more skills, increase your knowledge. As your competence grows through education, your confidence will naturally follow. I've seen this happen countless times. Someone starts a new business or career and feels insecure, uncertain. But as they educate themselves, as they read, study, practice, learn, their confidence grows. And with that growing confidence comes growing success. Remember, you cannot outperform your self-image, and education is one of the most powerful ways to improve your self-image, to see yourself as more capable, more knowledgeable, more valuable. Let me share another powerful strategy with you learned from both successes and failures, both your own and others. Success leaves clues, but so does failure. Some of the most valuable education comes from studying what doesn't work and why. Read biographies of successful people, but pay special attention to the mistakes they made and what they learned from those mistakes. Study business failures to understand what went wrong. Analyze your own setbacks to extract the lessons they contain. This kind of education, learning from failures, can save you enormous amounts of time, money, and heartache. It can help you avoid the pitfalls that have trapped others and navigate more directly to your goals. Now let me address something important, the education of character. Knowledge and skills are crucial, but so are integrity, discipline, perseverance, courage, and other qualities of character. These too must be developed through study and practice. Read biographies of men and women who exemplified these qualities. Study the wisdom traditions that have nurtured character development for thousands of years. Find mentors who embody the character traits you want to develop. Because ultimately, who you are is even more important than what you know.